"Go ahead, Buddy. Open her up," the sheriff said. Buddy jammed the crowbar into the narrow crease between the door and the frame, leveraging his weight as he pried on the handle. The cheaply constructed wooden door frame splintered, then the lock gave way with a loud crack, flying inward as it opened. "Go, go, go, go," Sheriff Howell said. Frank burst into the living room, sweeping the gun across the room as he searched for suspects. The other two deputies poured in after him, alert for signs of trouble. "Living room is clear," Frank said. "Sheriff's office, we have a warrant," Buddy said loudly, close behind Frank. Frank moved down the hallway, his muscular bulk filling the narrow space. A small kitchen with checkered floor tiles was off to his left, and he quickly cleared the small space. "Kitchen's clear," Frank said. Frank pressed on down the hallway and stopped at the first bedroom door. He cocked his head at the closed door to his right, indicating his intention to enter the room. He put his back up against the wall and brought his foot back, then delivered a powerful kick to the flimsy wood-paneled door. The bedroom door flew open with a crash. Inside the room, a startled couple with long hair and nothing on jumped out of bed, squawking in protest as the woman tried to hide their nudity with a bedsheet. Frank burst forward and subdued the man, who offered little resistance. Frank pushed him to the floor and slapped a pair of handcuffs on his wrists. The young woman raised her hands high into the air, tears running down her cheeks. "I'll take care of these two," Frank said. "Buddy, I want you to take the lead. Clear the other bedroom. Chuck, you back us up," Sheriff Howell said. He followed close on the young deputy's heels. Down the short hallway, Buddy kicked the door open and entered the room. A hazy cloud of smoke billowed from inside, filling the air around them. The acrid smell of tobacco and other less mundane fumes hung heavy in the air. "Sheriff's Department, drop the weapon now," Buddy said in a commanding voice. Sheriff Howell rounded the open doorway and saw two young men sitting on a couch at the opposite end of the room. A coffee table sat in front of them, littered with beer bottles and cigarette butts overflowing from an ashtray that hadn't been dumped in days, maybe weeks. A large pile of pure white powder sat on a dirty mirror in the middle of the coffee table. Two thin white lines of powder had been pulled out and rested next to a rolled-up bill. Little clear bags were strewn across the table, some filled with the powder, others waiting to be filled. The two youths looked so similar that they almost could have been twins. Both were tall, thin young men in their late teens or early 20s, with long brown hair on their heads and the modest beginnings of beards. Their black leather jackets had flames painted up the sleeves, with skull and motorcycle patches covering the rest. The stone-cold glare and scowl they both wore told him everything he needed to know about the pair. Coked out of their minds, these two weren't intimidated by their uniforms, their warrant, or by their guns. The young man on the left held a snub-nosed pistol pointed directly at Buddy's chest. His fingers squeezed, pulling the trigger back as if in slow motion. Sheriff Howell's stomach tightened as fear took hold of him. Time slowed to a standstill. His mind shouted at him to run in front of Buddy or push him out of the way, to do something to save him. But there was no time for any action other than to watch in horror. The coked-up young man fired the gun again. His eyes were merciless and unyielding as he pulled the gun's hammer back to take another shot. Years of training and instinct took over. Sheriff Howell aimed his sights on the young man with the gun and fired a rapid succession of 3 shots, ending the firefight. The gun fell from the wounded man's hand and he sank back into the couch, his ice-blue eyes registering first confusion and then surprise as he moved his hands up and felt at the holes in his chest. Blood flowed down his black t-shirt, staining his blue jeans as his life fluid pooled in his lap. Sheriff Howell lunged forward and kicked the gun away from the other young man, sending it to a far corner of the room. He grabbed his jacket and threw him to the ground. Sinking his knee into the man's back, the sheriff wrestled the dealer's arms around behind his back and cuffed him. On the couch next to him, the gunman stared off into the distance, his eyes vacant and empty, completely devoid of the hatred and defiance they held only seconds ago. With the gunman eliminated, Sheriff Howell spun around and went to his downed deputy, Buddy, who lay propped up against the